as I continue to build out my Ordinals art collection, my Bitcoin digital artifact collection, I had come to know this artist whose handle on Twitter is 0xFar, and he just goes by Far. And I think his first name is Fernando. Don't hold me to that, but you can find him on Twitter, 0xFar. And I don't know at what point I came across his work, but I think it was in 2022, 2023. And he came up obviously as an artist in the NFT space, someone who was in the metaverse, in the Web3 ecosystem. And I've been kind of tangentially following him. And part of the power of having been in this space for the last 8 years is you get a pulse. And one thing I really like to see in artists, I've talked about this in other videos, but I like to see artists who are involved in other projects, whose art is connected to larger things in the Web3 ecosystem. So for example, 0xFar was early involved in Meebits, in Larva Labs. And I don't really know to what extent, but I know that he was early in participating with the Larva Lab guys, right? And I listened to an interview that he did about 2 years ago. I'll have it actually linked in the description. Pretty interesting guy, an engineer by trade, someone whose art has always been very connected to technology, and sort of as an architect by trade and artist by passion, sort of early found himself attracted to the Web3 ecosystem. And I think one of the projects he's probably best known for is Taproot Wizards, which has an arguable claim as being the first PFP collection on Ordinals, right? But he started his work off in Ethereum, right? You could see some of these 2021 collections, 2022. A lot of these he puts under the title NFT, and I have his link tree here. I'll have it in the description as well. But eventually he finds the Ordinals product protocol in 2023 and eventually decides to migrate a lot of his projects over to Ordinals. And he's made some interesting comments about why that is. Here I have pulled up sort of his list of projects: Taproot Wizards PFP, Early One of Ones, Early Art Inscriptions, Unwelt AI, First On-Chain AI Art Collection, Adorable Flux, and that's what we're going to be buying today, an Adorable Flux. And, he has a large variety of collections that span different price ranges, and I won't go into the details of why I chose this collection, but just high level, I like that there's a small supply, limited supply. I like that it's pretty well distributed, compared to, I was also thinking about buying one of his Unwelt AIs, but there seems to be high level of concentration in that collection. And so this one seems broadly dispersed. I think it launched on Gamma.io originally, but it sells better secondary on Magic Eden, probably unsurprisingly. And so, yeah, today's video is about buying this piece. I have it pulled up here. It's pretty expensive for an NFT. Like, if you're just getting into NFTs, I don't recommend starting here. But for me, I'm pretty experienced, so I feel comfortable, buying into this collection. And one, truthfully, I just dig the art, right? I dig the art. I like the artist. I like where he's going. I like where he's been. I like how long he's been in the space. That transaction has been submitted. And so I bought this, obviously pretty expensive, almost $800, but for one of 33. And it seems to be honestly his first limited edition mint. And you can just tell this, to me, I think it's so cool. I think it's really abstract, very Web3, very generative, very colorful. My wife just got home, so you probably just heard that alarm go off. But one thing I wanted to point out is recently he has been kind of championing Ordinals to the NFT collectors and artists. Particularly, I saw a tweet in where he retweeted X copy. Here you can see this January 26th tweet. He's talking about some of the work he did with Meebits and Meebits DAO. But recently, with one of the Ethereum NFT marketplaces is shutting down, and people are realizing and learning that NFTs on Ethereum do not actually exist on Ethereum. They are usually just pointers to something else, to a database, and they don't actually live on the Ethereum blockchain. And now we are talking, right? This tweet right here on January 25th. Someone please work out how much to put all the nifty gateway artwork on Bitcoin. And 0xFar has been kind of leading in that that space of migrating from Ethereum to ordinals, which that is the value proposition, right? And he talks about it. Bitcoin NFT ordinals might not have the cultural and momentum like Ethereum NFTs do, but the fundamental aspect of being able to encode the art on the blockchain is just far superior. Beyond the cultural and narrative aspects, if you care about the long term, it's just very whatever, practical. And that is sort of part of the story that I'm seeing form, is that Bitcoin is the artistic expression. It is the artistic medium. And people are realizing that, similar to street graffiti, they can go inscribe permanent images on the blockchain, and they exist forever. For as long as Bitcoin exists, they will be there. And I think the takeaway that I'd like to leave you guys with is simply, new art movements are often ignored. I saw this tweet recently where someone was talking about, many famous artists often struggled before their art was recognized as being sort of valuable. And I think we are still just very early in the ordinals, NFT art, and the trajectory of, sort of these digital artifacts as an artistic movement, as a legitimate and legitimized artistic sort of medium, and I guess the professional and art world acknowledging them in the way that I think a decade or two, maybe even 3 from now, they will recognize. So thank you guys for watching. Just continue to document, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.